I'm Dave Mercer.
And I'm Matt Pangrac.
Welcome to the CULL, a weekly sport fishing debate show. And this week's topic is the age-old discussion of whose spot is it on day two? Panger, I'm a gentleman, so I will let you go first.
Well, we're getting into morals and ethics and gray area here. Because on the Elite Series, there's 4 days. And by days 3 and 4, it's pretty much shaken out as who's in contention to win, what areas they're fishing, who are in those areas. We've seen boats lined up down the Decatur Flats. We've seen guys 20 miles away from the next closest guy. And we've also seen some guys that are pretty unhappy when other people show up in their areas. But the gray area is day 2 because you take off 1 through 94. And then the next day you invert the order, 94 through 1. So it's fair. So everyone gets the same equal time. Here's the age-old question. I'm leading the tournament on day 1, and I show up to my spot on day 2 and someone else is there. Well, now we're in a pickle. And this is where it's a gray area. And I don't think there's a right answer to this, Dave. This is going to be a really hard one for me because as an angler, I think it's 100% situational. I think it depends on schooling fish versus a spot fish versus who shows up on the spot that you're on versus where you are in the standings versus there's all sorts of different things that take into account. It's not a black and white. And I think the guys who try to snake other guys' spots on day 2 are trying to make it a black and white issue. And I don't think it's a black and white issue.
But what changes it? The fishery, if you like the guy. So you're saying, I mean, Trip Weldon would always say, that's why we reverse the order. I mean, the last boat out on the second day, on the first day becomes the first boat out. And quite often you hear stories of, I was running to a fish and I couldn't get to that fish or to that spot because somebody was already on it. But tomorrow I'm going to get a shot and they're going to show up and they're going to see me on it. That's why they flip the orders. So who decides what situation? The lake, the angler, how you get along with them?
I think the two anglers. Listen, I was in on a scorching hot asphalt pavement in southern Oklahoma interviewing Gerald Swindle when he had a chance to win Bass Fest on Lake Texoma. And Swindle looked me in the eye like only Swindle can, and he said, son, you only get maybe one chance a year, one chance every 2 years where you think that you might truly have a shot to win a tournament. And for 98% of the guys on the Elite Series, that's the truth. They rarely get those opportunities. So if you're on a fishery where you are leading the tournament and the order is inverted on day 2, and there's a guy with 4 pounds the first day and you had 18 pounds that said, well, I was going to start here yesterday, but you started here. I think you're robbing a guy of an opportunity that he might not have for years to come. And you did not do enough on that day 1 to warrant affecting the outcome of his tournament. There's numerous things you can do here. You can stop on day 1 and have a discussion with that guy and say, hey, I was planning on starting here too. I know we're going to be here before. We can work together on this or whatnot. You can be a jerk about it and say, day 2. But I think situationally, especially if it's a spot, if we are talking about a spot and not an area, I think in some instances, it's 100% fine to have a boat race on that day 2. And it is open and that guy leading it knows that you're going to be there because it is a spot. And the only reason he got there was because he got to take off first. But in other circumstances, I think the right thing to do in that gray situation is to yield to the guy who has a shot to have a career moment, even though it's day 2 early in that tournament.
Yeah, but you have to understand there's so much more in play. I get it that winning a tournament only comes every so often. But one of the toughest things to do in fishing right now is something you're trying to do, and that's qualify for the Bassmaster Elite Series. So is it more valuable for someone to have an opportunity to win a tournament, or is it more valuable for someone to stay in the Elite Series, qualify for the Elite Series? I mean, everybody has something riding on it. To use your math, you say he had 18 pounds on day 1 and the other guy only had 4 pounds. Well, why do you only have 4 pounds? Because he couldn't get there and he respected you on day 1. That's the most important thing about this. If he showed up on day 1 and you're already on the spot and he tried to cast at your boat, which we have seen in the past, you know it's going to be a war. But if you see an angler respecting that on day one, you get a shot at that spot on day two. It's just the way the rules are written. And I get it. There is some gray rules. There's some debate that has to happen on the water. It's some of my favorite moments in tournament fishing. But rules are rules, and they're there for a reason. If not, this conversation reminds me of the NFL playoff rules, where they flip the coin and, you get offense. And if you score a touchdown, it's over. By your math, you're telling me if I win the flip of the coin and I get to go boat one and I get 18 pounds on day one, you really don't get an opportunity to defend.
Listen, I'm talking extremes there. It's easy to make examples with extremes, and that's an extreme. A guy leading and a guy really having a poor day and flipping. It shows that's an instance of a gray area where I think, I don't think that guy who's way far down in the standing should have it. It happened at this past classic, Dave. It happened with that. There were a couple different anglers that wanted to get on the outtake that Jared Miller had almost 17 pounds on. The field was inverted. That angler came up to Jared Miller and said, dude, I'm in next to last place in the classic. You got a chance to win this thing. I just want to put your mind at ease and say, even though it's inverted, I probably would have had that weight had the random takeoff been different. I'm giving that to you. You've got a chance to win the classic. I don't. In 90% of the cases, we see it in Florida. We see it around. I think the anglers work together. Yeah. I think the smart way to do that is to move in, to not move in, but to make contact with that angler on day one. If you know him, contact him after the day. During the day, say, hey, what are you fishing here? What's going on here? We've seen a lot of times where both anglers benefit from it. And it might not create a winning environment. It happened in Bass Fest on Kentucky Lake between Dean Rojas and Chris Johnson when he qualified just for it. Rojas fishing a shell bed. Chris Johnson rolls up. I'm from Canada. I paid big money to get in this tournament. I don't have anywhere else to fish. This is the only shell bed I can catch him on. Do you mind if I share it with you? Dean begrudgingly shared it with him on day one. They both showed up day two. The reason that Chris caught him on day one, Dean let him in. Day two, they go out. Chris starts catching him. Dean rolls up. Dean's having a tough time. Chris is throwing a bait. It actually benefited Dean because he figured out how Chris was catching him. They both cashed a check on it, and they both went away happy at the end of that event. Like I said, it's a gray area, but I don't think you can say, I have a right to any spot on the lake on day two just because the order was inverted. And I don't think you can say, I have a right to this spot because I was here first on day one just because you fished there first. I think it's 100% situational, and that's what makes this topic impossible to answer because it's not a black and white question.
So what's the number? You said it's pretty clear if it's 18-4, but if they have 13, is it okay? 14?
That's the beauty of this state.
15?
That's the gray area.
Here's the truth. The Pirates are what screws it up. You're right. I'd say 95% of the time the anglers work it out. You just hear a little joke here and there about whatever. It's the Pirates. And the Pirates get sussed out, basically. The Pirates,
you're talking about the guys that the only reason they're there is because they had a bad first day and you had a good first day and they drove past you and said, oh, that's where he's fishing. And the next day, the only reason they're there is because you were there the first day.
Yep.
You know what? This happened on Smith Lake in the Bassmaster Open to me, Dave. I started out on a community hole on a point, and I wasn't catching them that good. Well, guess who rolls around me and starts in the middle of the gut about 500 yards away? None other than Jesse Wiggins.
Oh,
and I said, my goodness, I have missed the school. Because he's a Smith Lake expert. Well, a couple hours later, I go back there, and it crossed my mind. Well, Jesse isn't there anymore. And I didn't catch any on that point, but I would not have fished that spot. There is a 0% chance I would have been in that spot had Jesse Wiggins not started there and been there. And I could have trolled over and gotten in the gut and worked my way towards him. I mean, he's only 500 yards away. I would not have done that had he not been there. And it was hard for me not to, but I did not feel like it was the right thing to do in that situation.
It's a lot of gray, because there's also, you got to take in forward facing sonar has totally changed that too, because the way people fish, it's not spots. A lot of times, like you go to Lake St. Clair, people would fish a little edge before. Well, now they start at that edge, but they follow fish, and wherever those fish go, that's where they go. So are they following fish? Are they following you? It's a gray area. I don't think anything has to change. I say, keep the takeoff order exactly how it is. And, you got to figure it out because you fish tournaments. I just talk about them.
I'm keeping it exactly the way it is. But I just wish 100% of the people, if it crossed their mind, if you have to justify why you're stopping at a spot, it's wrong. Keep it the way it is.
Wow.
But do the right thing.
Did we just agree, Panger?
I think so. I'm not sure what the initial question was, so we might have botched it at the end because I thought it.
Who knows? Let us know what you think. Whose spot is it on day 2? Is that why we flipped the orders, or is it totally situational?